You have to bankrupt them before you take them down criminally. That's what I think is going at. I think that Trump is playing the long game. And I will explain why I believe this to be true. Because he knows the bankers quite well. Yes. There's so many hit pieces on him. And I said before recently, before I go on though, I want to say this. Somebody had stitched a video of mine recently and had said, now this is a forever Trumper and the problem, blah, 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 just not. Yes, I went back and forth with this gentleman and I really shouldn't have. I should have just said, thank you. Thank you. Now, if I have reason to believe something different, then I will see something different. But I think that people get too hung up on what the media is showing you, and all these deadbeats that come out of the woodwork that want to lump Trump into being, part of Jeffrey Epstein and all that. No, he ran in those circles, so he's the best person to take that system down. Just like he's the best person to know how to bankrupt the bankers. Bankrupt the most wealthiest, the most elite. And why would you want to do that before arresting them? Well, because if you arrest them before that, they have the most money and influence in the world. There will never be justice. It will, be hung up in court forever. And since we don't have an ethical system, the best way to go about it is you bankrupt them first. And I'm going to explain how I believe this to be true. So part of the reason that I am a forever Trumper is several reasons. One, I already mentioned many, many times about taking care of women fresh out of trafficking. Another is that while I worked at Northwestern, or I should say before that monster Northwestern came in and merged with the little rural hospital I was at, I mentioned this on my YouTube channel, but I'm bringing it up on this channel now. Is that there was a contractor that came in to help us do waste, like getting rid of waste in your units that you don't need to help cut the budget down. And so he was with us for like a week, and I remember at the end of the week I had asked him, I said, so where are you off to next? Because he went all over the country for this, doing this kind of stuff. And he said, oh, I'm going to Washington to work with the Trump administration. They asked me to help clean up the VAs. So this was during his, I was like, okay, well, that's good. So that's another reason that somebody told me directly, okay? And he had no reason to lie to me. The other thing I wanted to say is that something else, and some people that work in psych anyway may remember this, but in this, and I never seen this in psych, so every nurse knows about Joint Commission, or when public health comes in, everybody has to be on guard, when really they're just all in bed together, okay? It's not like they just are. So, but during Trump's administration, he made public, especially for mental health specifically, really, he made public health come in with CMS, which is your Center for Medicare and Medicaid. They had to come in together to do to survey if the psych units were in compliance. And at least in Illinois, none of them were. And I think in Wisconsin, they had the same thing happen. So I think it was all over the nation. And they don't usually come in together. But by having them come in together, it forced them to have to not just play games and let the hospitals off and not be in compliance, but actually forced them to be in compliance. And many of those psych units in many hospitals, especially in Illinois, they had to either shut down temporarily to come into compliance, or they had to, shut part of their unit down and try to work with, because otherwise they'll shut you completely down. So I've never seen that happen. That happened under Trump's administration. And the reason I bring this up is because those hospital CEOs that are making a ton of money, and these hospital associations and all of that, it's going right in their pockets. So by doing that, something that should be done anyway so that the psych units are safe, take some money out of their pockets, huh? Yeah. For the right reasons. for the right reasons. So when Trump does stuff in his life, I think that what people don't see is the people that he has, the reason that the elites hate him so much is because he screwed them over. The people that Trump has screwed over, if you want to look at it as being screwed over, but I don't even want to say screwed over, but his kind of stuck it to him, has been the people that have been screwing us over, even before he was president. Yeah. So whenever you see something signed and you know that he did this and you don't understand why, I just would say, just take a breath, step back, and say and ask yourself, is Trump playing the long game here? Because I think that's what he's doing. Because it doesn't do any good to arrest people that have all the money, all the district attorney or attorney general, all this stuff in their back pockets, when really no justice will come to them like it should. So first you need to bankrupt them or take them into a position where they are not rolling in so much wealth that they have so much influence. Like, think about it. If you start bankrupting these people, how many security guards can Pritzker really have then, or Lori Lightfoot, or any of these people? Because if they can't pay for all these luxuries they have, then it kind of puts them on the level of everybody else, doesn't it? Yeah. So then, and then you bring them to justice. Because otherwise, they'll just tie you up in court. Which, if you look at Trump's history with the bankers, like Deutsche Bank, he's had a history with the bankers, and they did deals with Trump because they didn't want him to file bankruptcy. Yeah, because they're just a bunch of mobsters. They really are, the bankers. They're the global syndicate, but it's your elites. So Trump always made out in the end because what they wanted most out of Trump was his name. That's what they wanted out of him. So they would make all these deals and they would put, because, and who knows if they weren't doing it on purpose, just because I look at these people as mobsters. But yeah, when they do all these hit pieces on him, believe me, those bankers, I think we all can at least recognize this now. It's not like these are good character people, okay? That we know the banks, especially the Federal Reserve, has been robbing from all of us. So, and I'm talking about the big banks because that's who Trump had interactions with. So yes, he made out in the end always because they wanted his name. So they would always cut deals rather than him tie them up in court forever. So everybody always blames Trump that he takes everybody to court. Well, he takes the people that are pretty shitty to court. That's who he takes to court. And then he just tied it up. So he knows that that's what all these billionaires, all these hospital CEOs, your World Economic Forum, all these elites, he knows that they can do the same thing. So what does he have to do? He has to bankrupt he has to bankrupt them first. So you do it in slow incremental ways, just like with the hospital. You force the hospital to have to come into compliance on their psych units. That was during his administration. You don't let these hospitals I'm using the hospitals as an example, but it's going on everywhere. The news medias are falling, right? I mean, because he knew how to ignite the public by bringing them the truth of what is being done to you. And yet, because he was on the inside world of that, he knows how they operate. And he knows that as long as they have all that money, they'll never face the justice they should. So what do? You first start letting them go bankrupt. And that's happening. So because the World Economic Forum and their agenda would be much further along by now, right? I know they're saying all this stuff, but if you remember a few years ago when everybody first started learning about the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab made a point of saying we have a small window. Yeah, we have a small window because they're trying to tank everything, but they don't want to tank it for themselves. Well, I think that Trump is doing a very good job at making sure they're the ones that are going to be without their number one love in life, which is money.